things I will say, yeah, on the AI, just to clear up if anybody is wondering, yeah, it's absolutely crushing. We had Rochelle put in the chat, the beneficiary button's great, helped her protect the family. All the people that use the beneficiary button, if you're not aware of that, you make a sale, you ask for the beneficiary. If you take the time to actually get all of their information, their phone number, and put it in the beneficiary button, it'll text them and try to book an appointment with them so you can talk to them, tell them about the policy, offer them a policy. All of the beneficiaries that got logged into LeadChamp yesterday got booked by AI, so that was really really great. So we have a whole bunch of people. We have maybe I don't know 100, 150 people that are not on the new AI. So there's nothing you need to do. We're going to in the background manually be transferring everybody over the next week or two. But if you're wondering, you can send in a support ticket, and we'll help you. But just anybody that's still on the old one, we will be getting you moved over. But it's a lot of people. We have to do it manually. So just bear with us. Yours is going to continue to work. It's just you won't be on the new one until we get to you yet. But just know that we're working on it. It's happening. It's working, and it's crushing. So appreciate everybody for that. With that said, we're here to talk to this man right here, who I have grown to love. There, I said it. I said it out loud.
I
Okay.
knew it. I
Uh,
freaking knew it.
yeah. He's such like. Let me say this. My introduction to this guy about a year ago, Lead Champ did run IUL leads on a management, and we're called Lead Champ, and we don't sell leads. It's become a meme. It's funny to some people and not funny to other people. But this guy was on our leads during a period of time which the life insurance ad space was literally burning down and in a tailspin. Meta had made changes, and if anybody knows about like ad targeting, it overnight went away. And literally every vendor, people were coming to us begging to get leads because they're like, my leads are garbage. And then we had this A2P thing happening. And so I didn't know who Derrick was, never met him, but I saw his name on a list and he was getting leads from us, and he wasn't A2P approved. No one was getting approved A2P. We've dealt with that a few times, and it was taking forever. And so you couldn't text. But he was just like, oh, no big deal. I'll just call my leads. And he was calling his leads. Like, of course you would call your leads, but like people will get leads and not call them. We've seen it a bunch of times. And he was crushing, and he was one of the most profitable people on our leads. And I was like, dude, this guy, like, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, he's not getting approved. He can't utilize the whole system, but he's just getting it done. And that's one thing I love about Derrick is no matter what's going on, he's just working and getting results because that's who he is. And so a lot of times it's really easy to go, oh, the leads aren't working, the system's not working, this is not going well, that's not going well in life. I had a hangnail yesterday, I got sick. But winners, they always find a way to keep winning. And that's the difference between winners and losers, right? Losers make excuses and give you reasons why they can't. Winners, in spite of it, still find a way to win. And I'm going to give you your second compliment for the day. Derrick, you are a winner and appreciate you having on, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, I think it's important you tell the real story. How every day you would call me and leave sweet voicemails telling me that I can do it.
That's
And
true.
I was a big boy.
You're a
You
big.
said, "Hey, you're a big boy. You can do it. Come on, big guy." So,
That is
um,
that is
yeah,
true. That is true. So yeah,
yeah.
he
If you're
actually
not getting calls from Josh, he does not like you.
well
And
he
leaving voicemails, I should say. If he doesn't call you every day and leave you a voicemail like he still does to this day,
that's an
for
extra
me.
package.
So,
You don't you pay extra for that. So we have a package you can
yeah,
upgrade.
yeah,
I will send
yeah,
you nice
yeah,
voicemails.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So here's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about two things. Number one, this guy, he sells. He was the number one agent last month, correct me if I'm wrong, for FFL USA, which effectively is the largest agency team in all of insurance. You issued 136K last month. You use Lead Champ Pro. He is in, if you have not seen this guy on social, just go over to Lead Champ Instagram. You'll see him doing unspeakable things on our channel. So we appreciate that. You've been a long time user. So we're going to talk about Lead Champ too. But for
Yeah.
everybody that's here, we want to know like how you do it. And if you're not in the Discord, if you're not in the Lead Champ Discord, get in there. It will make you mad because you'll see this guy dropping sales constantly, constantly, constantly. So well, let's quickly move through like, yeah, let's, go through like, background, that kind of thing. But once we get through that, give us the breakdown on the 136K, like, because, I know what people are going to be thinking. They're going to be like, oh, you got a really, really big one, which I know, I think you had one sale in there, but like the real
Yeah.
story is the
Yeah.
consistency of like your daily method of operation, and that's what I want to dive into. But let's kind of give a background on, who is Derrick?
I'm so glad you asked. Some would say that I'm a father. Some would say that I'm annoying, but Josh says that he loves me, and that's all that matters. So I've been, I would say insurance wise, like I got into insurance from ministry. I spent 13 years in full-time ministry. And then I would say 4 or 5 years ago, um, we moved to Oklahoma. And I needed something that would allow me to stay home with my kids because I was not going to pay for childcare in the summer for two kids. And we were like, need something quick. So I was doing in homes, and that's how I got started. And then got brought on to the church I was at full time. And then about a year and a half transitioned out and jumped right back into insurance and did virtual, which you know wasn't wasn't really a thing when I first started. Everyone was still doing in homes for some reason. At least I thought it wasn't a thing. My upline at the time was pushing in homes, and so when I switched to virtual, that's when it clicked. I'm like, oh hey, this is how people are making all this money. Like you're not spending 14 hours a day driving, like, and it probably wasn't it was just you're out in the field 14 hours a day, driving between appointments and doing final expense. And I'm just going to say for the people that were able to do that and put up numbers like 30, 40, 50, $60,000, like I still do not understand how you did it. And I admire you for that because that was not me. A good month for me in home was 15,000, and it's crazy to think how like the standard has changed for me now because my a bad month for me, someone look at me and go, okay, you're just trying to you know brag, which that's not the case at all. It's just as things change, your standard for yourself changes. um and
Good.
so yeah, I got into did final expense, was doing veterans and was killing it. Then Facebook screwed everything up, and that's how I came to you guys. And I strictly do IULs. And I was talking with someone about this the other day, and I'm like, I know I'm leaving money on the table by not doing final expense, by not doing general life. But I do not want to have to fight somebody to pay 50, $60 a month for a policy. Like I sell, but I don't sell these IULs. I just present them. And the way I present them, people are like, "Oh, that's so easy." But everything I've learned about IULs has come from Josh Lockhart. And I'm not being mean. I'm not being that to be like, "Oh, it's not a joke." Like seriously, your video, the way you broke it down, like everything I have learned, people are like, "Oh, that's so easy. That's so." And I always say, "Hey, go watch this video. Go find Josh's stuff because it's simple and it's very effective. We don't overcomplicate it. So, I mean, all of this, yeah, I had a good month, and that's not an every month thing. Just so people know, some people can do that every month, and that's awesome. I want to learn how, but yeah. So everything I've learned from this has come from you and Jamie, and so just thank you guys for everything you've done and
Man.
pouring into me when I'm not even your downline. So
Hey, appreciate that, man. And you know, like we have people, and we actually can see the stats. We'll talk about this later, but we can see how much people are selling final expense and general life and all these different things. And the end of the bottom line is you can make a great income doing all of it. You know what I mean? But I do like the conversations for IULs, right? Because as the story goes, and we talk about this, and it's kind of like a thing about Lead Champ is like I struggled with retention in the home, coming out of the home. My retention wasn't the best. Focused on final expense, transition to IULs, introducing Lead Champ. It went up like 25%, something ridiculous. And, having those conversations and they're choosing to buy, I'm not like forcing a sale, which sometimes we can do that. And if anybody ever finds themselves saying anything to the degree of like, let's just see if we can get you approved, like that's kind of a signal, you're pushing too hard and you're asking for trouble. But I agree. Like I do like that about IULs. It's like, hey, you tell me what you want to spend, and we're gonna help you put a plan in place, right? So it's
Mhm.
like it's just a different conversation. So I do love that. Now, okay, so the transition from I just thought of it. The transition from selling vet to IUL, it's a much different conversation,
Mhm.
right? It's a bit
Yeah.
different approach. It is simple. Like, did you struggle? What were some things that were like, oh, this is different. I'm not used to
Yeah.
this.
Well, I think, it's easy to say now, looking back at it, but you hear it all the time when you are getting into IULs. People are like, "I just need to learn them. I just need to learn them," and it's like it's actually a lot easier than we think. There's certain things that are more complicated, and I've called you when I first got started, and I had complicated things, and that were complicated to me, anyways, right? And you learn them, and then you just move forward. So it was difficult at first because you don't want to sound like an idiot. You don't want to be over promising something. You got to be really careful because it's not an investment, but people like to say it's an investment. But that's kind of where we can get in some trouble. And so, but other than that, like the transition, like I said, you guys helped out a lot. It once that first month, after that first month and a half, 2 months, like it was pretty smooth. So
Let me okay, so we'll jump into like IUL land just a little bit because there's a lot of different like especially in just in life insurance in general, like there's a lot of little niches and things that you can find yourself in and annuities, advanced markets of different kinds. You get into the be your own bank stuff and it's like and these are all like buzzwords and marketing terms, but just if, aside from all that, right? Like
mhm.
your day-to-day conversations you're having, how many of the people that you actually sell, not like that you talk to, because sometimes they see the ad and they want to get rich and it's crazy, but like of
Yeah.
the ones that you sell, how many of them are purely looking for like some type of like cash accumulation situation and that is their main focus? And how many of them are like, yeah, I just kind of like the idea that I'm getting insurance and like there's some like savings
Right.
component to it.
I would say 50. I would say it's a split. It's a split. I have a couple different campaigns going. And I know people are gonna like I've already been asked by a couple of people like, what's your ad spend? So I spend right under, 10 grand a month on leads. And so I have a couple different campaigns going. And we just kind of let them roll. And sorry, it's spring break, so the kids are home. So you're gonna see my son walking around in the background. Um, and so yeah, out of those, 50% go, hey, I want to grow some cash. Which is great. I don't, people get hung up on, well, you're not putting enough money into it to do this, right? Like if they want to grow cash, then that's the way I'm going to set it up for them. I tell people all the time, like, yeah, there's a rule of thumb. You want to put 10 times your age to really see it grow, but aggressive looks different for everybody, right? Like I grew up with a single mom with three boys, so $50 would have been aggressive for her. I'm not gonna, that's just what it is. And so if they, I'm not worried about making myself money. And you run into that a lot. Like I just sat on the phone with a guy for an hour and a half the other day because someone set something up for him that he thought was set up to grow cash the quickest way. And I called Moo with him. I went through his illustration with him. I did everything. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I wanted at all. And I ended up, selling him and setting it up. And he ended up increasing. He was only spending 140 or something like that. And he ended up going to 500 because it's set up the
Mm,
way he wants to now.
right. The reason I bring that up, and you know this to be true, I think a lot of times people when they get in IULs and they start learning about it, they're like, and there's this is this way for every area of life, right? Like you're a fitness guy, right? If you go start learning about nutrition and fitness, it's like don't ever eat vegetables. They're killing you. And then the next
Yeah.
video is like only eat vegetables. And so in IUL world, it's like only set it up this way. This is the only way that you ever set it up, and you only do it with this carrier. And if you're not doing this, you're a bad person. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, hold on now. And I had this situation where I would race to do like the perfect max funded scenario, and we would lock it in. They would, and I would be like, I would ask them what they want, but I would ask them in the way that I'm kind of telling them what's best.
Hmm.
And then they would come back later and go, why don't I have more coverage? And I'm like, well, it's because it's max funded. And they're like, well, really, I wanted more coverage.
Right.
Or vice versa. And I was like, oh, I'm not actually listening to what they want. I'm just telling them the best ways they should do it before I actually get it from them. So you can overstep yourself that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also, this, you get a ton of people like, you talked about the big one that I had. That guy, when I first talked to him, he wanted to put five grand a month in. And I was like, hey, and some people, you hear that as a new guy getting into an IUL, you're like, freaking, yeah, I'm going to get paid. Like, and he didn't want to he wanted it max funded, but he wanted 1.5 million in a death benefit too. So it's like, he was putting some good money. And I was like, hey, let's go down. Like, that's another thing is I always talk people down because I would rather stick on the books than get the huge sale, you know?
Oh yeah. What? Okay, let me ask you a personal question in a public place. Like, what's your persistency with your IUL carriers?
Yeah. So persistency wise, I am at, let's just pull it up. Let's
Oh
see.
man, now this is the real
You want me to
story.
share my screen so you know I'm not
No,
lying to you?
no, no,
No, I'm
no,
just
no,
playing.
no,
I'm just
no.
playing. So I'm at a 76 for 12 month and an 84 for 6 month. And that's with Americo. National Life, the persistency is a little better because those are my ones that,
Right.
they're max funding it. They're really putting money in there, or they've been denied multiple companies and we had to go National Life for an underwritten.
Accelerated. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That makes
So,
sense.
but yeah, I would say, man, I run trucker IULs, and I'm actually I'll still run them, but I'm looking into some other things because everyone's jumping on truckers. It's going to become like veterans, if it isn't there already.
Yeah,
But also the premium applied ratio for truckers is not the best, which is
yeah.
crazy because they make
I've
so much money.
I've seen that too. Yeah, yeah. We've Jamie Dawson, some of the guys we've been talking about that is, they're great. They know they need it, but like they're they're not the most organized individuals, right?
Mhm.
They'll you'll ask them for like identification or and they're like, oh, let me get it. I got it over here in I call it the pile of keepers, and
Yeah.
then they read their account number off of a sheet of paper, right? Um, but so tell me what you think about this. So you said you have a couple campaigns. Here is kind of we talk about this all the time, Jamie and I do, about like lead vendors and this one and that one, and what should a lead strategy be for a top producer, and kind of what I've landed on. You know, I've had if I go back, the last 5 years or however long it's been, I'll say, okay, during this time, I really mainly bought this kind of lead. And, it was like an internet lead and we did in-home. And then after a while, it was like, I really only did mortgage mail. Well, that changed and I stopped doing that. And then it was like, social media mortgage. And that was like crushing it until it wasn't. And then it was like IUL. And then it was like one vendor. And one time we were talking about it and I asked Jamie, I said, have you ever run the same type of lead from the same vendor 2 years in a row? He's like, no. I was like, okay. So what we know is things change.
Mhm.
And having, like you said, having multiple campaigns, being willing to pivot. not getting upset when, something has changed and run its course, not saying it might not, it's not invalidated, but sometimes like it's just marketing, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes there's a new niche in the market, you get outsized returns, and then something changes, everybody jumps on it, it maybe gets watered down, or this happens, or Facebook changes, or whatever, and it's like, it's not as good. So just being willing to kind of diversify, if we want to call it that, and
Yeah.
being willing to be nimble. I think the every top producer I see that's consistently a top producer, it's like that's what they're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's scary to change lead vendors, but it's scarier to watch nothing happen with your leads that are coming in, right? So, one of my lead vendors, I turned off my TikTok leads the other day because it was 2 weeks and I hadn't sold anything, which is not a normal thing. Like, so I'm looking at them going, hey, like I'm not being able to get a hold of these people. And I'm not going to them going, hey, this is your fault, like what's going on. I think sometimes we get so, even with lead champ, I'm sure you get users and people that are so quick to point the finger, and it's like these people aren't out to get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's like, it's not like Josh is going, oh, I'm going to screw everything up for this guy because I just can't stand him, right? And it's the same with my lead. And the more I'm able to work with them, they've like my lead vendor has actually, like, they're having me test leads for them, so I'm getting free leads with certain types of things because like I am in communication with them and I am able to help them, and they're helping me, which is amazing. Like I've built that relationship, and I mean, I know we're talking about life insurance, but even with your lead vendors, like being in communication with them and building that relationship and letting them know, hey, this is working, or hey, what have you thought about this, and without being a jerk about it is huge, because then they're more willing to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, you get more flies with honey and
Yeah.
then vinegar and all those things like that. But like to your point, right? When we were testing AI, like you were one of the people we tested AI, which I felt terrible because you're like, "Hey, AI didn't respond." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm literally like programming a new thing like right now and let
Yeah,
me
that's so funny how that happened like 5 times in a row, but whatever. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
yeah,
So, yeah, you
yeah,
fell in the sword on that one. Thank you.
yeah.
Um so, okay, well, I guess also like I think you can fall into the trap of like just playing vendor roulette, just
Hmm.
trying new things. So like I
Yeah.
guess how do you decide, do I do a new thing? Do I not? Like
Well,
what
yeah.
advice do you have
So
on that?
right now, I mean, I just look at what I look at the consistency of the leads, and I'm actually looking at my numbers, right? Like it's not like, because we can feel like a lot of things. You can feel like you hate me, and I could turn around and give you $100, and you could be like, "Man, that's the coolest guy in the world," and your feelings automatically change, right? So feelings are not necessarily the best thing to go on, and when you're stuck in a dry like spell or a rut where you're not selling, it's very easy to look and go, man, this sucks. So what I do is like I have my cost, like I know what my lead total cost is, what I've spent, and I know how much I've made because I just keep track of it. I know, how many leads are coming in. I continue to look at them and, average them out. And right now, like my IUL leads, they're higher than I want. They're coming in at $50 a piece, which is average for an IUL lead, I would say. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it hasn't been that high before, right? But I'm looking at it going, okay, yeah, they're $50. They have told me, hey, something's going on at the campaigns that we're running, like they're running in a little higher than we want. I'm still making money off of them. So it's not like I'm going, oh, this is too high, I'm going to switch. Now, if it continues to go up, there's be conversations.
No,
Um,
I will
but
say, so I do like quality checks for like AI every night, and I was looking yesterday, and you had the highest ratio of like contacts to booked appointments. So I think it was like six contacts had responded, and then AI booked four of them. And
mhm,
all that means is like the intent, right? Where
right,
versus, let's say somebody puts in a bunch of age leads, those people might text back, but they might text back, stop, not interested. This isn't my number
hmm,
anymore, like whatever. So like all you're doing is paying for you're paying for pickups, right? Like
Yeah.
that's really all that is. Once they're on the phone with you, like it's kind of no different. Leads are kind of all the same.
hmm So I wish I had the highest show rate because the other day, yeah, I had like 18 appointments booked
Oh
and only
no.
two showed. The rest no showed me. So those are always fun. But yeah, so that's, I mean, the system, the CRM system, because you were asking me like what kind of went into that month. So I'll come out and say, yes, I had a very good month. Um, it was a lot of like I'm not going to discredit my work because I work very hard. But it was a lot of like, I got lucky on a few big policies too. So I'm an average producer. My 60 to 70,000 a month. And so with that, like I had a big one that came in that was like 40,000. And then I had a couple that were like 10,000 ones. But I am at my desk every morning at 7:30. I'm dialing. If you see me on a Zoom and I'm talking to you, there is a dialer going in the background.
Oh,
Like
yeah, let me tell people let me comment on a few things. First of all, Nick, I don't know if you heard what this guy just said. He said he's an average producer at 60 to 70,000 a month. So I don't know if that triggers anybody or not. But
I'm triggered for sure.
I know. Also, yeah, I've been on Zoom with this guy and we're just talking like we are now. And you can't hear it, but the dialer's just rolling all day long. And he'll be like, "Yeah, we're chopping it up." And he's like, "John?" And then he's just into it. There's no pause, just and it's like it's
Yeah.
cool because we're all working. And so for anybody that's like, "Oh man, they're having a tough time and, you know, family time and talk time and this time and that time," like Derrick is just he's great at just yeah, it's just rolling all day unless he's away from the desk. I've seen it.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't have someone that dials for me. I do all my own dials. That's probably something I need to start looking into. Just because of, it's that time. There's just things that I want to get taken care of before I bring someone else on.
Yeah, totally.
So but yeah, so it's a lot of, I follow up like let's say because I use Connect Dialer. I use a lead. I should just have Lead Champ tattooed on me at this point. Maybe I do. You'll find out later when you see
No.
me in Puerto Rico. um, but so I have the Connect Dialer. It connects to like my Lead Champ. As far as the notes that I do and all that stuff, which is awesome. But sometimes like no one is picking up with Connect Dialer, right? Like, and it could be the numbers that I have are bad. Maybe just it's marking. I don't know what it is. So what I do is I'll just start dialing from my phone. I go back old school and start going through my lead sheets that come in. And if they don't have a color, or if they marked that they no showed me, or I am calling every single one from the beginning and working my way down. And I still make sales on that. You know what I mean? So
Well, yeah, imagine that. Like so here's a guy, average 60 70, does 136, calls all of his own leads, sets all of his own appointments. Hey, it works, right? Um h- how many like one call closes, appointments, like
mhm.
what does that breakdown look like for you?
Yeah, I actually am starting to get a lot less one call closes just because people are busy. Like, and I don't mind, I working with truckers. So I would say one thing I attribute, and another thing I picked up from Josh Lockhart is I crank wheel all my appointments.
Mhm.
So, and truckers, especially because they're putting money in. And, yeah, I give them the option. If they're driving, I say, hey, before I get into any numbers, I don't give numbers until we're in the presentation and we're going through it. And I ask them, I don't give them the number. I ask them for the number. By the way, I just say, hey, tell me what can you fund towards this? Um, so I will ask them, I'll say, hey, I can verbally walk you through everything, or I can actually show you on my screen, like what's going on. What do you want to do? And some people will be like, well, you're losing sales because you can't get them back on the phone. And yeah, I could see that. That's a valid point. Another point is they stick on the books better because they're actually able to see what they're getting into, and they like what they see, and it just makes me look more professional.
Yep.
Even though I'm sitting in my office, in shorts and a shirt, you know what I mean? So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can push and get it in today, but like, and listen, I see it. You know what I mean? We're doing supporting people's accounts, like we see conversations, and I mean, it happens to the best of us, but I can't tell you how many times I'll see like hey, here's what we did today and set you up with a policy, and hey, you're approved, and the person will be like, I never gave you authorization for this, da 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 da, and I know that it's like I know the agent wasn't nefarious or anything like that, but like sometimes we can push and be like, hey, we need to get this in or whatever happens, and the person wasn't 100% like, yes, I'm buying insurance.
right.
For whatever reason, they thought we were just trying to get approved or we're just seeing or you know what I mean? And then, sometimes people are half paying attention, but it's like anything you can do to mitigate that. It's like, it's hard enough to like call, get the appointment, do the thing, spend the half hour on the phone, do everything. It's like, I don't want to go back as much, what I mean, I don't want to
Hmm.
go back and keep constantly have to go like remind them or replace sales is, all that good stuff. So
So I would still do a one call close if the opportunity presents itself 100%. Like I'd be stupid to pass it up.
yeah,
But what I'm finding is with getting into more and more of it, people want to see what they're getting into, and I would want to see if I'm dropping, $1,000 a month into something. I want to see what it is I'm getting into. So
yeah. Yeah, that's just a sales principle, show not tell, right?
right.
The more you can show, right, then they don't have to trust you because they'll trust their eyes, right? And
Hmm.
so just things like I don't start into a presentation until I make sure that they visually see my VMU site, my licenses, and everything like that. They're like, I don't need to see that. I'm like, hey, I just got to show you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do that all through Crankwheel. Like I take them through that on Crankwheel.
Yeah,
So that's the first thing when I pull it up, that's the first thing that they see.
yeah.
So
What okay, so and I wanted the story to be clear, right? You had some big ones. You said you're lucky, but like if you're working a lot, people are like, how do I get the big ones? Well, you work a lot and you
oh
run
yeah,
into them.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I ran into a $250,000 target premium sale last year, and they're like, how did you do that? It was just one of my leads. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And his wife went to the guy's wife's best friend went to high school with me. So she's like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, ask her, and they're like, "Oh, we know people that know you." And so it was just like this great thing. It just happens if you're busy enough.
Hmm.
But like I mean, go to the Good News channel in Discord. You'll see Derrick's name almost every day. Like you're putting in sales constantly. So it's not just the big ones. It's like you're putting
No,
them in all the time.
I mean, they add up, they do. So and like I said, I freaking work a ton. I'm going on this month. It's so funny because you can have a month that's like last month for me, and then my IP for week 1 of March, I'm like, this is not the same guy. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? It's so hit and miss, and you got to remind, consistency over time is what builds that. But I know, like, okay, this month's going to be off for me because one, for some reason, it started off rough. I'm taking all next week off. I'm not working at all.
Ooh, okay.
So like I'm going, I bought my kids a cruise for Christmas, and that's their
Oh,
Christmas present. And so that's what
that's
we're going to
freaking.
do.
Where you go? Where are you
Um,
going?
well, we're going to swing by. We're going to pick you up. Already talked to your wife. She's staying home with the girls. So we're going to Cancun and some just like some other little places. I couldn't tell you exactly where. We're just showing up. So we're going to have
Okay.
fun. So,
That's so
and
cool.
some people like I get, I get the idea of, well, you could work. Like how think about that Instagram post, right? Like on a cruise ship, just close the policy. Yeah, I could, but I also take so much time from my kids right now
Yeah.
at home that I want them to, when dad's there, he's there. So
Yeah, some people can, but like again, you got kids. I'm the same way. It's like
if my kids weren't there, it'd be different. I'd be working still, right? But
yeah,
they're there.
yeah. When
So
I'm off, I have to be off because I'm very single focused. I cannot multitask. My wife and my girls, they make fun of me for it. I'm like, I can
Hmm.
do one thing pretty well. I cannot do
Yeah.
two things good.
So
Um,
one of the things I did though was I had all my leads come in this week. So
mm,
one of like to help me not because if I have leads coming in, my mind's going to be I got this, I got this, I got this. But so
yep.
I paid for all my leads, had them come in this week so that I can work them and then just see what happens from there. So
Okay, cool. All right, so just to kind of cap that off, any other things that maybe we missed that you would give a piece of advice to anybody that's listening? Because you said, "Hey, I used to sell 15K. I'm
mhm.
an average producer at 60 to 70." And then
Yeah.
I've had this great month. Like something that we didn't mention that you would attribute to that jump.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there are people that are doing that much with final expense. And that's so I can't say it's just but for me, making that switch to IULs was huge. Um,
Well, I okay, here's what I would hear you say. It's like if you enjoy doing the work, like we all are in this to get something out of it. We're going to use the money on something, but like if you enjoy the work, you'll work harder than somebody that's just wanting a result.
mhm,
Right? Because you can
mhm,
make money doing lots of things, but
mhm.
if you're like I don't like talking to I hate it, but when I talk to mortgage protection or when I talk to IUL, I enjoy that conversation. I enjoy doing it. You'll do it more than the person
Right.
who's like I hate it, but I want to make I want to issue 100 grand a month, so I'm gonna force myself to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you
Yeah.
like it, you'll just do it more. That's just it.
Yeah, and that, and then also like one of the cool things because um, my upline like we they get on the FFL USA like Zoom, and so I just hop around different Zooms, and like learning from people is huge. I like listening to people, the way that they say things, the way that they, because and I know we say that a lot. That's why Zoom is important or Discord is important. But just making connections with people is
Yeah.
also helped with that.
And
Because I
you always
had, go ahead.
sorry. Well, yeah, you always catch these little one-liners, right? You hang out with
Yeah,
Shannon Carpenter, he'll say something slick, and you're like, oh man, let me write that down.
yeah, because I mean, look at him, he is slick. You see the
He
cars he's driving? Come on,
he
bro, come on.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, everybody go check
Yeah,
out Shannon Carpenter on TikTok. Um Now, obviously, you're the spokesperson, you're the influencer that we pay a lot of money here at Lead Champ
yeah.
to, work and twerk.
I actually
Uh,
don't even have to. I do that part for free. That's what we call a Monday or Tuesday. So no,
yeah.
but yeah, I actually don't have to sell insurance because of how much you guys pay me. But I
Yeah,
do. I choose to do it anyways.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You do insurance for the love of it, but you make your money with Lead
yeah,
Champ. We know how that goes.
yep,
Okay, cool.
yep,
What are some things like obviously, we get on every week and we're like, hey, use the what happened button, this, that, and
hmm,
that. What
yeah,
what are some staples that like you make sure you do every time in the system? Maybe you have like a certain like method of operation. You're like, every time I do it this way, and
yeah.
and that's kind of that helps me to stay
So
organized or whatever the thing is.
right when it comes to dialing, I mean, I have two screens open. I have my dialer and I have Lead Champ. And so as I'm booking the appointments, I'm actually booking them in Lead Champ and then going and hitting set appointment in the dialer. Um, as far as when it comes to taking appointments and what happened, like that, what happened button, I would have to say like that the month that I have, I like Lead Champ did not, create that month for me, but it helped have that month because of all the follow up and because of all the stuff that you guys do on the back end that makes my life easy. The reason I don't have to have a dialer right now is because I'm not going around texting clients, here's your policy information. This is going on. Like,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, oh, you missed your payment. Well, all of that, right? So I am a full, like I take full advantage of the
Yeah.
system.
I just got a note from a user this week. He's like, man, the client stuff is his favorite thing. He's like, he had a client who he sold a wife an IUL, and she was getting like the postcards and the follow-ups and the birthday cards and all the stuff. And the husband got jealous and he's like, I never hear from my insurance agent. So
Yeah.
he called the user up and was like, "Hey, can I get an IUL with you? Because I see what you're doing for my wife." And he got like it was like a $4,000 target premium policy. And he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Leacham just made me $4,000 because of a postcard."
So I actually had a guy, he was going off on me the other day. He's like, you're all out to make money and you won't like I'll never hear from you again. And I said, you're wrong. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you're wrong. And I said, look at this. And he was on crank wheel. I went to my lead champ and
Let's go.
showed him text messages and showed him, I said, so, hey, here's the deal. Like, you're talking to the wrong guy. If that's what you want, you don't want to hear from me again, then we should not do business because you will hear from me. And then he shut up really quick, and it was a really good moment where I just like wanted. That's like, how'd that kick in the balls feel? Yeah, that's what I'm talking. So
Yeah, well, again, yeah, show not tell. I love that. So, well, appreciate it, Derek. I mean, if on these calls, if this is your first time on a Wednesday call, most people show up to the call in the first 5 minutes just to hear Derek say something crazy. I know that's why I show up.
hmm, yeah, yeah.
But at least soapy facts, yeah. So, but no, I mean you've been crushing it all the time, and it's nice, these kinds, like you said, these kinds of environments, Zooms, chats, channels, like you want to be in proximity to people that are winning and that are willing to share, because I think a lot of times it's like we're sitting at our house by ourselves. We think the leads suck, the system sucks, nothing's working, and but then you get around to people that are like, oh, they're doing the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
what's the difference,
Well,
right?
here's the deal. Like this business, and I know people wanting to like to hear like this is exactly what I did to make this money. You know what I mean? And this is how you can do this every month. And like a secret. And there's really I can't say anything that someone else hasn't already come on here and said, right? Because it's the same thing. You just got to work really hard. You got to be disciplined, and you have to have a consistent lead flow. If your leads aren't working, like we talked about, when do you switch? Well, if I'm not, 3 weeks, if I'm not seeing the results that I'm really looking for and I'm putting good money and that's my only lead source, well, then I'm looking for something kind of different. You know what I mean? I'm starting to look and go, okay, what else is out there? I'm calling people, like reaching out to people that I know. I don't make a jump without contacting people that are using that first and just seeing, hey, what's your experience with it, right? Just because it's their experience doesn't mean it's going to be my experience, but
Mhm.
if they're being successful with it, I know I can be successful with it, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So I don't have like some secret, but I will say like being on these calls, getting in a Zoom, asking for help. This job is very hard as it is. So if I can like help somebody and help somebody win, like I would want someone to do that for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm not very secretive with things. Like I know some people are secretive with like lead sources and they don't want it getting out and they don't want it. But I mean, this is super hard as it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
And
let's all win. And when that lead source dries up because I told so many people about it, it's like, okay, now I'm calling those people going, hey, what have you heard? Like what lead sources are you looking into?
yeah, you called me the other day and I was like, "Ah, man, like I've heard this name, check it out." But yeah, somebody asked earlier in the chat, they're like, "Oh man, are you running your own ads or whatever?" It's like even when you run your own ads, you know what I mean? There's still like change and all kinds of things happening, and which you got, you're buying from vendors, we could name them, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I've worked with them, whatever else."
Mm-hmm.
So it's not secret. We all do the same thing. It's just like you said, you dial all day, run your appointments. You're really nice on the phone, respectful on the phone.
Sometimes I leave a voicemail that or two, that
Yeah,
may
yeah. You need to follow Derek on, Facebook or Instagram. He's been posting these videos of these voicemails he leaves people, and it's yeah, it's
like I
wild.
really and people are like, you really yeah, I leave those voicemails because I've called them 40 times. So why not at that point? You know what I mean? Like, what's it going to hurt? So
Yeah, absolutely.
uh
Well, Derek, man, appreciate you hopping on.